I saw this story actually developing, and it was such an awkward story. It was such a weird, like hard to characterize type of story. Obviously, the situation over there at Twitter with the employees and the layoffs and all that stuff, it was just enormous. Like, they laid off, I don't know, more than 50%, I think, of the staff. Like, whoa. It's kind of unprecedented in this space. So Elon comes over and basically kind of cleans it out. I guess it's probably not unprecedented. I'm sure it happens with as far as companies are concerned, but this is obviously a very high profile case. And the latest in the high profileness is this social media exchange between Elon himself and a former employee, slash maybe not an employee. It was very complicated. So this individual here, Halli Thorleifsson,
also known as Halli,
who's I think from
Iceland.
Iceland, right?
Yeah.
Also known as Halli, and so he created a product at one point in time which was sold to Twitter. Twitter bought. It was kind of like a full-service agency.
It's like a design firm?
Firm?
In a way?
Yeah, okay, firm. Yeah. Let's just say firm.
It's called...
Ueno?
Uno.
Okay.
Ueno.
I started an agency called Ueno. I ran it for 7 years before it was acquired by Twitter in 2021. So pretty recent. Mm-hmm. I also started Bueno. A nonprofit that donates money to good people doing good things at Ueno. Maybe it's just Bueno. Because if you've got Bueno and you take out the B, was designed. We designed digital brands and experiences for companies like Airbnb, Apple, ESPN, Dropbox, Facebook, Google, New York Times, Oculus, PayPal, Uber, Venmo, Visa, Walmart, and many more.
He's well known in the design community.
That's a who's who.
Yeah,
that might be you might call that a who's who of brands to work for. I've also won some design awards, and then
Person of the Year.
Yeah,
awards.
Person of the Year.
Yeah,
Iceland,
and he gives back.
Iceland Person of the Year 2022. I now work at Twitter, where I led an innovation team that, among others, spearheaded communities on the platform, as well as the long-awaited edit button. I also tweet a lot on there and make music and put wheelchair ramps in Reykjavik. Work towards that. He is in a wheelchair himself. He has
muscular dystrophy.
Muscular atrophy, often called muscular dystrophy. The one I have is called dysferlinopathy. Dysferlinopathy. Okay, so wait a second. Can you go back to that for one moment? Sometimes I talk at events. I gave a talk at Figma Config about function and feeling, and I talked at awards. Okay, the reason I only bring that up is because of the Figma comment, which was on the Twitter exchange, which I was a bit confused by. Maybe I'm supposed to know what's going on here. Somebody's going to fill me in. But anyway, he goes on Twitter and says, "Hey, am I fired?" More or less.
Yeah.
There was obviously some different words there, but he says, "Hey, am I fired?" Because I'm locked out of my email.
And it's been quite a while, a couple of weeks.
Which kind of means you're fired most of the time.
Yeah.
I would assume.
But there was no official release.
No official, just a lot of layoffs in general at the company and speculation that he had been himself fired. So he goes to Twitter and just says, "Hey, I haven't heard from HR. I'm assuming I'm fired, but am I? Well, why don't I just, dear Elon Musk, 9 days ago, the access to my work computer was cut, along with about 200 other Twitter employees. However, your head of HR is not able to confirm if I am an employee or not. You've not answered my emails. Maybe if enough people retweet, you'll answer me here." Now, this got 6,500 retweets, and sure enough, the answer came there. Elon goes right for it. He does not waste time and says, "What work have you been doing?"
Well, I don't expect any less from him.
I know.
He's a busy guy.
But it's just so blunt, isn't it?
Yes,
it
is very.
It almost sounds like the undertone is, if you were so important, I'd already know who you were. That's how I read it. It's kind of, what work have you been doing is, whatever work you've been doing, I'm unaware of. So either, I mean, you could read it two ways. And obviously it's just a simple sentence, but you could read it two ways. Either Elon's saying, hey, fill me in because I should know, or he's saying, I am not familiar with you or your work, and therefore I question the importance of it. But the therefore part was just me reading into it. Obviously.
Okay, yeah, as you do.
Then he says, I would need to break confidentiality to answer this question here. If you have your lawyers share in writing that I can do that, then I'd be happy to discuss openly. To which Elon replies, it's approved. You go ahead. So now you know it's about to get spicy because he says, you go ahead. He basically like, never mind these lawyers. Nothing's coming in writing. I am the writing. You understand?
Yeah, I approve of everything. And
I own this company, this platform. I own these tweets right here. So
hurry up. Okay.
Whoa. I haven't heard that.
Hold on, I gotta
I haven't heard
get
that.
the door for a second here.
Oh, get the door. Oh, I see. That's why he barked. Among others, so he goes ahead and answers the question. The question being, what work have you done? And the answer is, among others, led the effort to save about $500,000 on one SaaS contract, supported closing down many others, led prioritization of design projects across the company to make sure we were able to deliver with a small team, led design crits to help level up design across the company, was hiring manager for all design roles, worked on efforts to steer the company away from focusing on power users and on to younger users because our user base is aging. Elon is looking for clarification. He replies saying, level up from what design to what? Picks or it didn't happen. I think the level up wording was very specifically identified there. I think that was extremely intentional. That this is the corporate type of language. Will, what do you do? What do you do around here? I level it up. I'm leveling things. I just level it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, specifically leveled it up. It used to be level 2. It's level 4. I'm like, sick. I mean, that sounds level 4 sounds better than level 2. I don't really know how this video game works with the leveling of things.
Sure, yeah.
And how we quantify it. That we have success metrics that don't normally follow level lines, like we're playing Overwatch or something.
Sure.
Grandmaster style. Leveled up design to Grandmaster status. I'm like, okay. All right. Sounds pretty sick. I don't know who qualified it, but anyway. So Elon goes, level up from what design to what? Picks or it didn't happen. So he's skeptical. We haven't hired design roles in 4 months. In other words, implying if you're a manager for hiring all design roles, we're not doing that now or soon. And then he goes on to say, what changes did you make to help with the youths? So he likes that one. He likes that one, you see, because that one is direct in its regular language, which is, let's focus on younger users because our user base is aging. So he's like, okay, cool. Like, how do we do that? That sounds good. I feel like that's pretty obvious. If you said that to me, Will, if you're like, I'm leading an effort to focus on our younger users because our user base is aging. If you said that, I'd be like,
Carry on.
I'd be like, wow, that's sick, dude. That's pretty cool, man.
But he proceeds to kind of make fun of him.
He proceeds to make fun. And this is where Elon always gets the criticism on the other side, is from leaning in and maybe the, what can I say? Not drawing that distinction between the public and the private. Like, you're on Twitter right now, and you're Mr. Twitter, and you're also Mr. Elon. And it's like this is where the social awareness and aspect comes in. Anyway, he gets critiqued, saying you shouldn't do this in public. What's going on here? You're calling somebody out who's trying to find out if they're employed or not.
Meanwhile, the person who created this thread is Alex Cohen, who works at Twitter.
What do you mean he created the thread? Well, he created
the
he took screenshots. I mean, a lot of people were talking about it. You could follow it natively anyway, but
but then the conversation between Elon and Halli went into this thread.
Yeah, because it got screenshotted, and then that went viral, like 20 million views. And then
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this guy, Alex Cohen, he's like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with both of you in a way? It's just like, this is not how we do things, right? Like, just publicly. If they want to talk, they should do it.
Yeah, but even his part is weird, because his initial tweet is, this is the funniest, this is the most entertaining exit interview I've ever witnessed.
He tries to make it less awkward. But it's
well, I don't know if it's making it less awkward. I think it is entertaining to people, because we don't see these things typically play out in public. And I think Elon is of the impression that more people should know about transparency, open source, whatever. That's been such a talking point as far as this Twitter takeover. Twitter files, like, you're going to know everything and how it's going on. And when it gets really personal, though, that kind of changes in terms of transparency.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for either of them.
So anyway, the point,
or Twitter.
Elon replies to the criticism from the guy who says at first, he says, hey, this is super entertaining, and then follows it up with the next tweet saying it's kind of messed up. Then Elon replies saying the reality is that this guy, who is independently wealthy, he probably looked up what the acquisition was of the company, the sale when Twitter bought it in 2021, did no actual work, claimed as his excuse that he had a disability that prevented him from typing, yet was simultaneously tweeting up a storm. Can't say I have a lot of respect for that. So that is now, it's no longer joking around. Now you're making a pretty direct criticism publicly of this person. Alex responds saying it's obvious he did all middle management work from that exchange, but I personally would not put an ex-employee on blast and force them to prove their worth in front of 100 million plus people. By the way, this Alex Cohen, I believe, is a previous Twitter employee, because it says previous director of badge access at Twitter.
Okay, so he worked at Twitter.
Unless that's a joke. That could be a joke in 2023. That could be the way people's humor is. Maybe someone can look it up. He has a prominent active Twitter account and is wealthy. The reason he confronted me in public was to get a big payout. From what I've been told, he's done almost no work for the past 4 months, middle management or otherwise, despite his claims on Twitter that he did work. It turns out he told HR that he couldn't work because he couldn't type, but was, over the same period, typing up a storm on Twitter. Yet, there are many people on Twitter defending him. This hurts my faith in humanity. Oh. So it was kind of a little bit a little bit casual at first, and then it got very specific and very critical. And it just straight up said, no, thank you. And I mean, that is the definition of putting on blast. It's some of those tweets viewed millions of times, and you got to believe it would affect this person's ability here to, well, it wouldn't be. Anyway, that's enough about me. Yeah. The reason I asked you in public is because you or anyone else at Twitter didn't reply to my private messages. You had every right to lay me off, but it would have been nice to let me know. As for my disability, I wrote about that here.
There was a couple digs on Elon from this guy as well. So they were going back and forth.
Yeah.
They were like, he's like, I have 2 wonderful kids. Maybe you should take my advice and visit them sometimes, kind of stuff like that.
Whoa.
Personal stuff.
Are you sure? Can you show me that? Is that where it went? Is that where it went? Are you sure, Will?
At a certain point, yeah, it got really...
It's hard enough to find these threads here, but I'll tell you what I told them. I'm not able to do manual work. I told HR. I hope this helps. Yeah, well, I believe you will if you read it. I don't know. It's hard to find what you're talking about on Twitter, obviously. Well, I don't know. I guess it just ends up looking ugly. And the truth is that a lot of people, Elon is so huge. Anytime some kind of controversy goes down, there's so much business around it that now there's going to be a lot of interviews here, and there's going to be a lot of employees that may not be happy with the way it went down. And I really don't know, but it seems obvious to me that the way Elon approaches things is so damn matter of fact that can easily be perceived as a lack of sensitivity. And this is not unique in this space. In the tech CEO space, it has been a criticism in the past of Elon and others that there's a lack of kind of humanness, whatever you would, sympathy, I don't know, something like this. And he may be the most far out example of that, of just attempting at all times to call it the way it is at the expense of possibly people's feelings. So depending where you land on that, it's going to determine how much you're into what he's putting out or how much you're critical of it. But it appears to me that the way in which he kind of said, I'm laid off, that's fine. And his kind of lack of surprise that he'd been laid off, like when he got his email, it seems to me, and again, this is pure speculation, that he kind of saw the writing on the wall, that he kind of assumed.
Just more content and accepting of that fact.
Like,
but maybe that's his personality. Maybe he's just a very kind person that he just realized this is the end.
It's possible, Will, but if and I know everything is like, a lot of stuff is remote these days, but if you are actively involved in critical kind of, and these companies are way bigger than this company that we're in, but if you're actively involved in critical actions on a daily basis, then you're going to know when you're fired. You're not going to have to guess.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're no longer going to be doing that. But it is interesting to me that like in 2023, people's email inbox is kind of their exclusive path. It is the entirety of their tasks on some days, and being locked out might be the first sign, and that's not a great way to communicate that either. So I don't know. It's obviously a tough topic, but you have somebody in the chat here that says it's a business, not a daycare. Well, that's true as well. It's a business, not a daycare. People are going to be on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to their feelings around this type of thing. You're still hunting for something.
Well, he finally apologized, which is the main story. Elon apologized.
Where's the apology? Mr. Musk replied, based on your comment, I did a video call to figure out what's real versus what I was told. It's a long story. Better to talk to people than communicate via tweet. Well, and that's true. I mean,
yeah, tweeting
kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. As much as Mr. Elon would tell you that Twitter is fantastic stuff is happening there. I mean, I felt for a really long time that it's actually a terrible interface for communication because of the lack of nuance and the inability to sense if a person is joking or not. And I think in some ways, the platform itself leads to misunderstanding, contributes to misunderstanding. And so, yes, of course, you're going to have a call with somebody, and you're going to have way more texture there. And it should happen as quickly as possible when you're dealing with serious matters. That you should be transitioning conversations away from these small little text blurbs and towards something that has full resolution, like an actual voice conversation. I can completely agree with that. Should have happened at some point earlier there.
Yeah.
Doesn't change the fact that, I mean, this is internal corporate stuff. People get fired, and a lot of people got fired, and it's not exclusive to this individual. You had the other lady who got fired after sleeping on the floor. And actually, she was getting dunked on, and I kind of liked her response. She's like, so you dunk on me for working hard and getting laid off? More so than somebody who didn't work hard and got laid off? And they're the cool ones? Like, oh, sorry about that. A lot of things are flipped right now. A lot of things are goofy right now, Will. How are you going to dunk on somebody? They're like, oh, you were loyal to this guy. And no, I mean, in that case, she showcased to the world she's down to work, at least. Maybe they go a different direction, but how can that be a negative? Down to try? Is trying not cool, Will? Is that where we're at?
I hope not. I hope everyone tries.
Listen, man, if trying becomes uncool, we got big, big problems.